Hello everybody, we are going to be continuing on with our Champions Cup series, this time talking about the 1921-22 NHL season. Now before we start, I wanted to say please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you are new to hockey, new to me, whatever the case may be. I'd love to have you here along the way as I try to do this as a career. Now let's get into it. So this is the 5th season in NHL history and the first one without the season being split into two halves. Now previously, if you've watched the other videos in this playlist, the season was broken into two halves. They weren't perfect halves all the time, but you would have a team that won their first half or the second half, whatever the case may be. They would win that, and then if another team won the second half, they would have a matchup in the NHL championship. Now, if one team won both halves, they would end up just claiming the championship, but this season would be the season that you would see the 1 seed and the 2 seed play each other for the championship. Now, this is where it kind of stays similar here, where there is another 24-game season with each team facing each other 8 times. The Ottawa Senators were the best team in the league despite a 4-game losing streak, and they actually finished with a record of 14-8-2. Punch Broadbent led the league in scoring, amassing 32 goals and 14 assists for 45 points in just 45 games played, leading the league in goals, assists, and points, while also having a 16-game goal streak with 27 goals in that run. Something that didn't go particularly well for the Senators this season was Sprague Claghorn, a former Senators player just the season before who won the Cup with him, getting in a fight with the now Ottawa Senators team, his former team, when he was a Montreal Canadian. And the fight was actually so bad, he ended up injuring 3 Sens players and ended up getting a $30 fine and was actually trying to be arrested, or was trying to be arrested by the police. Ottawa police were trying to get him basically for beating up their players, and that was an interesting thing there. As for other teams, the Toronto St. Patrick's claimed a second-best regular season finish with a record of 13-10-1. The Montreal Canadiens finished third, going 12-11-1. And then the Hamilton Tigers, who would have guessed it, they ended up finishing last. They went 7-17. This meant as Ottawa was the 1 seed and Toronto was the 2 seed, you would have the two face off for the title in a 2-game total goal series, and Toronto won the first game by a final score of 5-4, which meant Ottawa would obviously have to outscore Toronto in game 2 because it was a 2-game total goal series, and that did not happen. But the fans did get to see a very exciting high-scoring Game 2 where the final score was 0-0. So there's that, as the St. Patrick's took down the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, the Ottawa Senators, and got revenge of them for the season prior because Toronto and Ottawa faced off, and of course Ottawa won that. Then on to the Stanley Cup, where they got to face a new foe, but things were slightly different this year. In previous years, the PCHA winner, the Pacific Coast Hockey Association, would face the NHL champ for the Cup. But a new league emerged, the Western Canada Hockey League, WCHL, and they would play the PCHA winner, and whoever won that would take on the representative of the NHL. This wouldn't be the case the following season, but we're going to talk about this season, where the Vancouver Millionaires took down the Regina Capitals and would go on to be the PCHA champs, and of course taking down the WCHL champs and to go on to the Stanley Cup for the 3rd time in 5 years. This would be another 5-game series, and they went as follows. Game 1, Vancouver won 4-3 to take a 1-0 series lead. Game 2, Ottawa split the series 1-1 with a 2-1 overtime win. Game 3, Vancouver won 3-0 to take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4, Toronto of course needed to win this one. They won 6-0 to tie the series up, and in a winner-takes-all game, Toronto won 5-1. This, once again, was a really good season for the NHL. Of course, they had had some worries just a few years prior about the NHA really taking them over and that being a competitive league. But again, the Toronto St. Patrick's were able to illustrate the NHL's dominance over the other hockey leagues around them and won the Stanley Cup yet again. Toronto's first ever, and this would be their only in franchise history as the St. Pats. They would later be renamed the Maple Leafs. Of course, we all know about them, but for the St. Pats, one championship, and that was all they got. But we will see. Do they have a really good season after this, and what happens all there? Make sure to check out that video playlist after this. Everybody please stay safe. Have a great night. Eagle of Hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.